Good evening. It is Ira Akar. It is my pleasure to be with you in this evening. We gave you a meditation in which you were given the gift of love. Not said in the meditation, but truth about love is that love is a two-way street. That as you give love, so it is you receive love. It is the most important thing you need to realize in life. It is actually part of another truth, which is that which you give, that which you put out, that which you give away, returns to yourself, multiplied. And so when you give love, you receive love. And when you receive love, you are filled with happiness and joy. For the love of someone who respects you and gives you this love is an beautiful gift that is shared between people. And love is ever renewing. It renews itself. It is impossible to run out of love if you continually give love. You are filled with that capacity to love others. And the more love you give, the more love you receive. It is as simple as that. It may seem wondrous to you, but it is the truth. And this is so for everything in your life. You give love, you receive love. You give grace, if you wish. Do you understand what I mean by grace? You give to others the option of your faith in them, that they have the benefit of the doubt, so to speak, that you are always on their side, rooting for them. And so in a way, that is a grace that you give to them. And so love, when you love yourself, is also your guide. For in loving yourself, you do what is best for yourself at every time. And many times what is best for yourself is that giving of love to others. By forgiving others their faults, forgiving others for their transgressions. That is a gift of love. To allow others to be as they are, without your irritation, without your annoyance. It is that gift of love which brings you happiness in your life. For as you love someone, so it is that love is returned to you. If you have patience with another person in their wrongdoing or their lack of abilities, but you have patience, you give them the love of accepting them as they are. And this is a blessing both for you and for them. For as you give this love, as you give this patience, so it is that you fill yourself up with forgiveness for yourself, for your errors, for your transgressions. And so you give love to others and you give love to yourself at the same time. As you forgive others, you forgive yourself at the same time. And so that is the story for this evening. And I wish you love. That love is manifested in your life in every way. And I know that it is. And I hope that you appreciate it and see it when it comes to you. And that you give it back in full measure so that others can experience the gift of your love being and their love being returned to them. So are there any questions in this evening concerning this wonderful, infinite movement of energy, the loving energy that flows between people and returns to you in your life? And if you have other questions.
You were talking about love. I was thinking, well, if you see somebody committing a crime, I don't know, stealing a car or something, if you report them, is that love or is it not? Or should you just send them love and go away?
If you report them, if you are able to report them because you know it is that you have seen this and you go tell it to the police, in many ways that is an act of love, because they will experience possibly the consequences for their actions. And it is important that people realize that actions have consequences. It is the same as karma. It is the truth that there are always consequences to be paid for every act that goes on. Now, that act can be the giving of love, and the consequence is that it returns love to you. So you must not think of karma, and you must not think of love strictly in the sense of only good or only bad happening. It is a combination of many things. If you give love, you receive love. If you steal a car, the consequences are different, and they are probably less to your liking, for it will be the determination of a court of law, perhaps, that you should go to prison, and that is your consequences. But when you give love, you always receive love. So choose to do actions which return to yourself those things that make you happy and healthy and enhance your life, not the other way around.
Well, I wasn't sure whether reporting somebody for stealing a car or whatever was making me feel happy or not happy.
Well, look at it this way. The person whose car was stolen, you did a great favor for.
Yeah.
And so you gave love to the person whose car was stolen, not to the criminal who stole it.
Okay, I can deal with that.
That is the proper perspective to keep in mind.
Okay.
When it comes to all things such as this, there is that possibility that someone is going to be injured by the actions of another. And so whatever you do to stop that injury happening is a benefit to that person. And the person who is being injured, who is doing the injuring, is receiving the consequences of his action. Someone is coming back and causing him injury in some way, shape, or form. It may not be the stealing of a car. It might not be the knockout punch in the face or the nose. Or if they are fighting, it may not appear. There are so many different ways. It will not be an exact return in kind, but it will still be a consequence that they receive as a result of that which they do. Are there other questions?
Well, maybe I can go back to my question about spirit guides and our angels, that how they come into our lives. And, you know, sometimes you think you feel them, but you don't exactly hear them, or you can sense them. But I'd like to be more open to their presence and to actually almost see them. I'd love to be able to see them. You know, like you brought us to the meditation where we could visualize an angel walking toward us, glowing and just there to bring us love. I'd love to have that image in my life every day.
Well, certainly. And you have that from your guides in every day. Now, normally, the relationship of a guide to a person in the physical world
Mm.
is due to past relationships that you have had in
Okay.
other lifetimes. And as a result of these past relationships, in which you perhaps have loved one another, undoubtedly you have loved one another, that you worked together, that you were in the same family, you may have had the same goals, the same desires, the same wishes, and that in that life you may have experienced the same difficulties in many ways.
Mhm.
But when you move into spirit, the relationship remains because you have shared an incarnation. And it is not too different from that which you have with your family members, your children, your aunts and uncles, or your brothers and sisters, whatever you have in the way of family members.
Mhm.
These people are your family in much the same way as a physical family. For you have shared many experiences with them. And perhaps you helped one another, that you gave love in that lifetime. And so, out of this past relationship, when an individual is seeking to go into a new incarnation, you make agreements with people who have been with you in the past, who will stay in spirit while you are on earth for that incarnation, and will try to be a guide or help to you. So these are your helpers.
Mhm.
You have the individual who is known as the joy guide, and that is the little one, Juana, that speaks through Norma. And Juana and Norma have a relationship from a past life.
Mhm.
And in this past life, their relationship was special enough that Juana chooses the name Juana, first of all, because it is for her significant to the past relationship.
Mhm.
And she has agreed to be with Norma to help her in every way.
Mhm.
Now, usually for a joy guide, this concerns taking care of little problems or little difficulties in the life of the medium, such as finding lost objects, helping them to make, they cannot help you to make decisions. Decisions must be made by you, but they can sometimes help you to see possibilities
Mhm.
that will result from your decisions and your actions. They can run errands, and they will generally try to be of help. If you need special help in some way, they may be able to guide you to find an individual on the physical plane who will give you the help that you need. And so that is when, and I know it has happened to you, as it has happened to all present at some times, you suddenly find yourself in a relationship with someone who has the right thing they can offer or say to you, which will enhance your ability to understand things
Mhm.
and to get things done. You
Yes.
suddenly can make decisions that you were not able to make before, because you become enlightened by someone else on the physical plane as to understanding.
Mhm. That definitely has happened. Yes.
Yes, so that is your joy guide at work. She has gone out, and most of them choose to portray themselves as young females. There are some who choose to portray themselves as young males, but that is up to the relationship that existed before. And of course, you have the doctor of philosophy. And the doctor of philosophy has agreed to be a mentor and a help to you in areas of business and relationships,
Mhm.
and perhaps ethics and other understanding that must happen in your life that you need to utilize. And this person, much the same as the joy guide, except this person helps with that category of of work, of the life. So once again, when you are trying to find a relationship, they may help you to find that loving relationship that you desire, someone who fits your needs. And so you may find that. They may also help you to find a new home, to buy a new car. These things may suddenly become available to you, or understanding of what's best for you may come into your life. And that is your doctor of philosophy working. And then, of course, you have the doctor of medical doctor, who is in charge of taking care of your life. Now, unfortunately, as skilled as they are, your spirit physician cannot administer drugs to yourself, but they can try to bring about balance in your aura or through your chakras, a balance that helps you to be healthy in all ways. But they may inspire you to take up walking as an exercise, or just begin to exercise, or suddenly to go on a diet and to be good on your diet, so that you lose some weight if that is what you need to be in good health. So your doctor, your medical doctor, will help you in these particular ways to try and bring about your best, vibrant, good health.
Rodcor, I had asked a similar question before, and you said at the end that that Norma would be able to tell us the name of our joy guide, our doctor of philosophy, and our doctor of medicine. Is that still true, that she could tell us that at the end?
Well, that would come through Juana. And you
Juana?
would need to ask Juana when she comes back.
Okay, I will. Yeah, for all of us. Yeah.
And then to bring up the subject with Juana and ask Juana to give you the name of one of your guides, and she will oblige you.
Oh, good, good, good. Yes. Thank
Yes,
you.
you haven't gotten one of your guides yet?
I got a name before. I got a Dr. Betts and a daffodil for a joy guide. So, but I was wondering if there might be another one too, that I'm missing.
So you do not know whether it is your doctor is your doctor of philosophy or your doctor for health.
No.
And we'll discuss it with Juana, please.
I will. Thank you. Thank you, Ron.
Yes.
So
additionally, you have a protector, which often portrays himself as an American Indian, or perhaps African native, because they are quite large and strong energetically, and they do protect your possessions. So that if you are going away for a vacation, you simply ask your Indian guide to keep watch over your house, to keep it safe and all your possessions safe. And so they will help with that. They also sometimes help with personal, your personal protection, as it might be needed for you to avoid great injury in an automobile accident. There are always people who have automobile accidents, and surprise, surprise, they are hardly hurt at all. And people wonder, well, how could they survive such a very bad accident? And that is usually the work of their big Indian, I refer to them as. And so they are quite large with strong energies. And then there is another guide that is your spiritual guide, who helps you with spiritual matters and ethics, so that he would help with that. And these are people that have been with you in past relationships, and so they continue to be available to you while you are back on the physical plane, because it is agreed upon between you and them that they will do so while you are on the physical plane. Now, however, there is a caveat to this. If you should become wayward, we will say, and you would take up stealing cars for a living, perhaps, your doctor of philosophy is not going to help you with that. And it may even not have anything to do with you. And it is possible that the rest of your guides would also become separate from you and inactive and cease to help you at all, because there is a certain level of joining in your karma that if they are successful in helping you and you are successful in your current incarnation, that these guides also, you might say, work off some karma, if they are in need of working off some karma, because they help you to make the right decisions. It reflects good on themselves, and so they also benefit from these situations. Remembering that between lives, karma is not expedited in any way. So while they are helping you, while they are in spirit world, that this also helps to relieve them of karmic debt if they have any.
Mhm.
So if you have more questions, I can give you wish an illustration. Once again, I would use Juana. Or you could also ask Juana to speak and tell you what her relationship is with the medium.
All right, great. Just one more question, kind of on the lines of karma. You go back to the biblical story of Adam and Eve. They're in a garden, and Eve tempts Adam and says, "Oh, you must taste this." And they were told by God not to touch the fruit. They did. They disobeyed God. Is that when karma began? Did karma begin because of something like that?
Well, in a sense, that is true, that you might say that their karma began at that point in time, not necessarily your karma. But it is also important for you to realize the stories as they are told within the Bible and all holy books are not literal, in the sense that this was not a literal thing. This did not exactly happen as it was told in the book.
Yeah.
Because there are several different versions of the creation story. With some of them have minor differences and some are hardly related at all. They seem to be working, these stories are not accurate. So sometimes they seem like they bear no resemblance to one another, but yet when their period in their time, they were it was taught how the creation began. But almost all of them begin creation with a void. And there is the one presence, which you call God, the one spirit, the one presence, the one vibration, the one intelligence. And that is called by God, by you. And so there always starts with the one. And there are various ways in which the manifestations occur, but this is not important. So do not take it literally, but you may say that if it was literal, that God created man and he created woman and had given them this tree of knowledge to eat, not to eat from. And that brings about why it's not just karma, but it brings about understanding for the temptations. That is the purpose of that aspect of the story, that Adam or Eve was tempted by the snake and the devil. And she was wanting to know and understand as much as she possibly could. And so she ate of the fruit of the tree of good and evil. Now in the garden, all was perfect. And now that she understood about evil, and not evil in the sense of doing bad things, but not doing what is best for yourself, deciding to do things that hurt you in some way, shape, or form, that this caused her to induce Adam to try the fruit. And so she became involved in creating difficulty and hardships for man in general. And that is the story of Adam and Eve. But it is good to note that it is the knowledge that is the temptation, the knowledge to know good and less good, and to bring about a movement toward less good when you are unaware of what is your best and where you should be going. So it is almost as if a difference between knowledge and ignorance, remembering that ignorance is just less knowledge, not knowing as much, and that all things, while they do have an opposite, their opposite is really only the less good of a situation.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there other questions?
While you were talking in the beginning, you mentioned all the like relatives and people that we have had past lives with that could be our guides. Okay, is there any way, I mean, my mind was going like, oh my God, you could have so many lives. There's so many people involved. How can everybody be your guide? So is there some way of picking them?
Well, not, you don't have an infinite number of them. One of them will volunteer. And remember that the people that you have been with in this lifetime, you have been with on the physical plane in other lifetimes, so that the same people keep showing up in your life.
So maybe the spectrum of people is not as large as I think.
That is what I am saying.
Okay.
That you have many children, and your children may have been brothers and sisters and children of you in a previous lifetime. But now in this lifetime, they are your children. And in other lifetimes, it may have been aunts and uncles, but they have been with you in previous lifetimes. That is quite normal for incarnations and karmic relationships.
Okay, I got one more question. When you were talking about the guides and describing them, I think it was a protective one, was like either an Indian or an African. Now, is that the same image for people from other countries, or would those be images more set up for the United States because we're familiar with the American Indian and the Africans?
That is true that it would be very much for people in the United States. However, other people in other countries are quite aware of Africans and American Indians, and to the current crop of people now living on the plane, they have the same significance as being powerful and strong. That is what we are. That is what their personas are, and that is why they adapt them. So even though I cannot think of a single country which may not be aware of African natives or American Indians,
well, not that they're not aware, but the thing, they're not that close to, say, especially American Indians, because we're in America. You know, people from other countries might say, oh yeah, there's American Indians, but not feel that they're the big strong guy. Maybe there's somebody else that they look up to as a big strong guy.
Well, then that would be the persona that individual would adopt.
Oh, okay. All right. That was kind of my question.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can, they can adopt anything they want. And it would be a reflection somewhat of the relationship they had before, if they, and also what the life would be that they are in now, and the cultures they are in, they would reflect that belief. You
Okay.
might say that the Russians, if you were born in Russia, that you might choose to have a protector who is a Cossack. And a Cossack were very strong, fierce warriors. And so they were, they could withstand quite things, and they had great fighting power. Or you might choose to have a Siberian, because that would be what is also considered to be strong in power.
Right. Okay. That was the idea.
Yes, that was the idea, and that is the way it is.
Okay.
Doctors are doctors, so most of them use the doctor, but of course, if they were in a different language, they would not be using doctor. They would use the appropriate term for that language.
Right. Okey-doke.
I guess
Other
on that
questions?
note, if you were, like you said that they create a persona, is that more so that psychics that do have the third eye chakra open and can visualize them, not be freaked out by them? Or if we ourselves were able to see through the veil and look at our guides, we wouldn't react in a negative way, so that we had a frame of reference that we could understand? Though I want to preface that with the thought that Juana said that one of my guides was alien, which I know as a human, we still have a hard time wrapping ourselves around that one, and we tend to react not too positively. We get on a defensive posture. Thank you.
I am not 100% sure I understood your question.
Is like you said, that they can manifest themselves to be anything?
Yes.
Because they are energy. So therefore, it is more of a reference point that we have on the physical plane to understand them.
Yes, okay, I understand your question now, and I can see the error in your thinking. First of all, when a psychic or someone, as you have said, who has the third eye open is psychic, when they are seeing an image, they are not seeing the exact image of the person or the of the persona that may be exist. In other words, taking again the example of the Indian, the big protector, they may see it as an Indian, or may see it as an African native, but this is spirit has no way of looking, and they do not have a way of generating an image. The image is generated in the mind of the medium, and it is often self-generated. What the medium is making contact with is personality traits, energies. It's hard for me to explain, but they are sensing types. So they are feeling that it is strong, it is big, that it is strong and able to protect someone. And so therefore, the image in the medium's mind will conform to whatever that medium, he or she, had the concept of strong and powerful and a warrior, so that they could be protectors. So that would be what was in the medium's mind, not was generated by the protector itself.
So, and with that in mind, then there would also be like a nurturer, maybe a feminine form kind of thing, particularly if you needed that kind of image as well.
Yes, they can do that. That is why also the joy guides, as indicated by their name, joy guide, is infinitely usually shown as being feminine and being young, because little girls are more giving of joy than little boys, which might be more mischievous. And so girls tend to be more helpful than boys when they are young. Not that boys cannot be helpful. And so that is why some would be appearing again as a boy. But once again, it is a reflection in the mind of the medium, not in the mind, not in actuality. And as far as seeing your own guides, these, when someone sees the guide, it in a way is going to fulfill and match what their idea of that type of guide would be. So if they were to look in a mirror and suddenly see the guide standing behind them or alongside of them, then it would conform to their idea. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, and that's also so that it doesn't startle them or anything like that. Like when my mother would appear to me in my third eye, I would tease her and say, Mom, you should come in your 50s outfit, because there was this great picture of her, in her prime. She was a young, in her 30s, I believe, in the 50s. And I loved the pictures of her then. And she started appearing to me in that makeup and that dress. And I thought it was really cool on her part because I was more comfortable with it. I don't have any recollection. Obviously, I was born in the 60s, but I love seeing her in the prime, in her during the
Right.
1950s. Not that she was 50 years old, but in her
Yes.
in the 1950s and whatnot, just as a comfort to me and entertainment purposes and whatnot. So yeah.
Yes. So therefore, she began to look like that to you because it was your wish and your desire. So it took place in your mind that way. Because what you are not seeing is not her real physical body. Obviously, that body is dead. It does not move. It has been buried or turned to ashes or whatever way you disposed of the corpse. And while this may seem crude that I speak of it in this way, the body is disposable. It lasts for as long as it is supposed to last. And there comes a point in time when it does not function, and this brings about death. But
On
that is
on
just a
that note,
release.
yeah, on that note, though, I've had dreams where I'm having conversations with people that I don't recognize in this life expression. Could that possibly be people from other lives living? Because they just seem so familiar to me. Like it seemed not dreamlike, but that we were communicating on a different level, regular human appearance, but I was interacting with them and I did not recognize them by face. You follow what I mean by
Yes, I
that?
understand what you are saying.
Thank you.
And that is because they could be from a past life that they are there, and that is why you know them. And they, your own mind puts them in a, not a critically accurate reflection of who they were in that past lifetime, because in this lifetime, the mind has no knowledge of that, and it will create an image. Remember, your mind is part of your body.
Well, I know they say mind over matter. Like if you envision yourself thin, they claim that you can become thinner. Right now I'm doing mantra meditation for, I forget, 40 days, so that it becomes habit. And the word is Satnam, which is Sanskrit for truth is my name. To impart it into myself, since there's a lot of fakery out there. I figured that was a good place, and I've done it before and I got great results from it. But we see ourselves in our perceptions of who we are, and oftentimes they're distorted, and whatnot, and we have to clear that up and get back to where we want to be, and not keep playing the drum of what we don't want, so, or what we are falsely perceiving ourselves to be. Thank you.
Yes, well, people's weight and size does fluctuate on the physical plane, and it is due to many reasons why one might drift away from what you might consider your preferred desired shape and size. But yes, when you use a mantra, such as you are working on for 40 days, and one in which you see yourself as slim and trim, and you make that mantra, it'll work within your subconscious mind, and it will help you to create that which you are seeking to manifest in the exterior of your body. So as long as the subconscious mind believes that you deserve to be slim and trim and beautiful according to your thoughts and ideas, then it will cooperate in the making of that and helping to manifest it. So you may lose your appetite. You may have a desire to suddenly do more exercise, that it makes you happier when you are more active. Or it just makes you happier to eat proper foods. And so you begin to do so automatically. And this brings about the changes that you desire. Now, there are times when the subconscious mind does not want to cooperate with what you want on the physical level because it doesn't believe you deserve that. And that would be due to old programming that may have been given to you by your parents, your aunts, your friends, your school teachers, whatever it was, that somehow you got an impression that you were always too fat, and that fat is what you are going to be, that you do not eat properly, whatever way that you were given that misconception about yourself, then the subconscious mind will still choose to manifest that. But doing the mantra will help change that within the subconscious mind. And so it will eventually work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, manifesting what you want is all mental. And if you can imagine yourself looking exactly the way you want to look, then that will be helpful to visualize yourself thinner, and or visualize yourself more active. There are many different ways to achieve what you want to achieve, and you can do it through visualizations. You can do it through mantras and affirmations. So affirmations will help you to manifest that which you want to manifest, knowing that it is so. When you know something is true, then you will start manifesting it. Are there other questions?
Okay. Everyone I know, except maybe most young children I know, has some kind of physical ailment. So if the body cannot make itself sick, then how can we stop ourselves from making it sick? Because we seem to be unaware of what we're doing.
Now, you said if the body cannot make itself sick?
Yeah, without us influence in, so to speak? I mean, does the body just get sick?
Does it just get sick?
Yeah.
Um,
Do you just get varicose veins, or you just get something, or, I mean,
Actually, it is
and
possible.
I don't mean with the thing like the losing weight and stuff. We obviously know we eat too much, so no. I mean,
Yes.
things that you don't expect.
But how is a body made sick? And let us discuss that for a few moments.
Okay.
When you are going through something in your life, it does not matter what it is, that causes you stress, we will say. It causes you stress. And as a result of this stress, you can develop an illness or a manifestation of the stress that you are going through. So that it is possible also, many bodies have a weak point in the heredity. And as a result, when they get under stress, they will have a tendency to cause an illness to be manifested in their body by that stress, wherever they have that weak point. So that some people always get indigestion. Some people always get the elimination problems, we will say. They develop diarrhea or constipation, or so it expresses itself that way. That some people can't see. Well, let me make things clearer too. If you have that type of a weak point in your body, you may tend to manifest within that weak point, so that some people will create headaches for themselves. And as we said, there are those who create stomach aches or indigestion or diarrhea or other elimination problems. There are some people who will cause themselves to fall and cause injuries to their arms or legs or other parts of their body. If the stress that you are undergoing is of a particular type, such as, I must think of an example. You are not making progress in getting things in your life in order, that you are not being successful in in accomplishing things that you want to accomplish. Now, this can easily result in a fall, which might sprain an ankle or your knee or your leg, or break a bone in your lower extremities, because that is a symbol of the type of stress that you are having difficulty dealing with. And as a result of causing yourself this illness and having to deal with this problem of having a sprained ankle or a broken leg or knee pain or whatever it happens to be, which is reflective of your inability to move forward in your life, then you will find that as you slowly heal from this situation, you are actually attempting to heal the emotional stress you are going through. And sometimes, because an ailment has happened, you have the time or different situations manifest that may allow you to solve that problem. So that illnesses can often be a reflection of that which is going on in your life. There was a person who wrote a book about this, and she suffered from breast cancers. And she healed herself when she realized that her breast cancer was a symbol of nourishing and nurturing other people, but not herself. And so she worked on being more nurturing to herself and not allowing herself to be taken advantage of so that she would get frustrated because she didn't have time for herself. And she saw that as manifesting her breast cancer. And so by taking the time and paying attention to herself, she began to heal and healed that cancer at the same time. So that illnesses are often reflections of things that are going on in your life, even trivial situations, such as you bang your knee or you bump your elbow or something like that. Even though you do not injure yourself, if you can think back to how your mind may have been idly thinking about something, perhaps a few moments or maybe an hour earlier in your day, that your ailment, whatever you did to yourself, can again become a reflection of what you were thinking. And so this is how illnesses often occur in perfectly healthy people. Plus, it is normal for the body to somewhat wear out over time. And so that it cannot always renew its good cells. And once again, if you have been born with a heredity that predisposes you to types of illnesses, those types of illnesses will manifest in your body as you age, particularly if you have any stress. So I hope that has been somewhat informative to you. You
Yes,
may
which
ask,
kind of leads to another question.
yes.
How do you decipher the difference between your body naturally wearing out compared to our minds imposing these, illnesses or pains or whatever on ourselves?
I'm not sure that you need to figure out the difference. You just need to treat the symptoms.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. But then I worry, did I cause this or did I cause this, or is this just not naturally supposed to happen?
Did you cause it or was it supposed to happen? Chances are, unless you brought that in as a karmic situation into your life, it was not meant to happen. There are some illnesses perhaps that you might have desired for karmic reasons to manifest in your body, because they would then cause you to cope with something that reflected from a past life. And this sometimes is true. There are also things which people sometimes act as illnesses or think of as illnesses, such as Alzheimer's. But this, while it can be an illness, it must be remembered that to the advanced Alzheimer's patient, their inability to think clearly and to remember things well is not as important to them as it is to those around them. For those who love them want to be remembered. But if they cannot remember you and you're just a person that comes by, and they maybe can remember you, a friend, or simply welcome your being there when you are there, that for them, this is not a stressful thing. And these people came in or allowed this to happen to themselves as a way of giving service to others. Now, people like to help other people. And being ill allows nurses and doctors to minister to them. So in a sense that this is a service that these people are giving to others by being afflicted with Alzheimer's, which after a point does not disturb them any longer, and needing the help of other people. This is a service they do for others. remember that what you see and how you interpret things is not always the same when looked at from the spirit of from the spiritual point and from the life of someone in spirit. When you have no physical body, when you are essentially just energy, which knows and understands, that life is totally fulfilling to yourself. And the physical life in which the person no longer thinks clearly, no longer can take independent action, needs to be taken care of, is not seen as terrible. It is more seen as noble, because it allows other people to give service that they wish to give to others. And so it is important for you to remember that the modes and methods by which the body deteriorates and stops, which allows the release of spirit, that this is not seen as a bad or disappointing thing. It's seen as a good thing. So it is difficult to keep that in mind from the point of view of spirit and those who live in spirit still, that which you see as perhaps horrible or distressing or makes you unhappy, that this can be, from the spiritual point of view and living in spirit, perfectly natural, normal, and acceptable, as well as joyful, that it brings about this transition back into spirit. You have to remember that life in spirit is much more joyful often than life on the physical plane, unless you have elevated your mind and your thought to be kind, to work well with others, to be in a state of grace, to be peaceful and happy and accepting of whatever happens, that when you have reached that, your life is always happy. But until you reach that point, you can create unhappiness for yourself. And so when you are on the physical plane, if you have spiritually evolved, and you will find that you live a happy, healthy, productive, simple life, it is possible that it will have nothing but goodness in it, no matter what happens, whether you become ill, whether you become deaf, whether you become blind, whether you cannot think, whether you have no memory, it does not matter. You will continue to be happy. And if you have not reached that level, well, you will experience the sadness and the difficulties of being imperfect. But from a spiritual point of view, this is simply what is going to bring you to the release from the body and to have a wonderful experience entering into spirit.
Okay, now let me bounce back to being born. I was thinking, if say a baby is born with cerebral palsy or something, now could that spirit is either here to be in that condition so that others can help them, or they could be here working out their own karma? Would that be correct? Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
they can be there so others can help them, but they are possibly also working out their own karma. Perhaps they were unkind to someone who had cerebral palsy and could not move. Perhaps they did not take care of them. You must remember there were times in the past in which these people were often just left to die. And so you could look at having a life in which you have this illness and which you stay alive, that this is a karmic reversal if in a past life you were not kind to this type of suffering.
Alrighty. Now
Remember
goes,
that
what was it?
karma always has to deal with balancing. So if you were one way in a past life, you have to change and be different in the new life in order to balance it. So if you were not caring, then you will have to be caring. And
I think you talked about that once before when somebody asked you about Hitler. Since everybody thinks he's the big bad guy, is well, perhaps he's coming back as a doctor this time so he can help people.
yes, absolutely. That you have to be in a position, yes, to work off the karma from Hitler will require a lot of work.
I believe it. Okay. I had one more thing about guilt. I mean, we all seem to feel guilty, but yet we're told we shouldn't be feeling guilty. We should forgive ourselves and go on with our lives, basically. But why do we think we need to feel guilty? It seems automatic. I mean, like when we screw up, we automatically instantly feel guilty. Okay, I screwed up. I did something wrong. So why do we feel that this guilt is necessary?
Because you have been told that it is necessary.
Oh,
Is that not
Okay.
true?
I guess I'm going to untell myself.
Guilt is
Okay.
that guilt is remorse for what you have done.
Mhm.
In a sense, it's yes, guilt is remorse that for what you have already done. And shame is how you feel about yourself when you have done something wrong. And guilt is, as we have already said, it is a knowledge or understanding that you have done something to someone else.
So the only reason we feel this is because it's been drummed into our heads that we need to feel guilty every time we do something wrong.
It is a reflection, yes, let's face it, there are many people who use guilt as a way of manipulating other people.
Mhm.
And it is I think, a natural result of education, that you learn that something is correct and something is wrong, and that when something is wrong and you do it, you need to be punished. It is karma.
Hmm.
We already discussed that tonight.
Mhm. So should we work on trying to not feel guilty when we do something wrong, or what? What direction do you go from there?
Well, I think you have to acknowledge to yourself that you have done something wrong, and you try to make amends for that which you have done, so that you ask forgiveness, and you try to make up for it in some way. And then you forgive yourself for having done something wrong.
Mhm.
And you go on with your life with the resolution not to act like that again.
Well, I know people that have like done things and apologized to whoever they hurt or whatever, but they still hang on to this and say, oh, I'm going to feel guilty about that for the rest of my life, you know.
Yes,
So
there are people who behave that way, who think that that is the way in which they can experience remorse and that they can get forgiven only by beating themselves, flogging themselves, if you will, for their mistakes until they are very unhappy.
so how do you help somebody like that?
How do you help someone like that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say to people like that.
Well, you can always say to them, well, okay, you can remain guilty if you want to, if that makes you feel better.
Okay.
That is up to them. It is
Yeah.
their action. You cannot forgive them unless it was they did something to you. And then you can say, I forgive you. I don't want you to be unhappy anymore that you did this. I'm sorry. I'm glad that you feel remorse, We have made up, and now you are free to go forward in your life without guilt. I forgive you. And that is all you can do for them. Now, if it was not that they did something to someone else and you do not have the power to forgive them, then you can just say, well, did you ask for forgiveness from this person that you hurt? Did you try to make amends in some way? Maybe you need to do that. And then you can forgive yourself. And if they forgive you, all well and good. If they don't forgive you, well, you've tried your best to make up for it. It's time to move on from it. So please let go. Either say you're sorry and do your best to make amends. And if it's rejected, then that is their problem, not your problem.
Right.
Forgive yourself and go on.
Okie doke. Yeah, I like the part you said, well, if that's going to make you happy, that's okay. Okay, I like
And
that.
you can also say if being guilty for the rest of your life is what you want to do, then that's okay.
Have fun with it.
But I think you'll be happier if you can forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And I think it is time for us to say goodnight. For we are just about out of time tonight. And so I give you all my blessings. Good night. Hi, I'm back. Well, we don't have much time for anything because got lots of good questions tonight. I hope you found it interesting and helpful. And I'm sorry that I can't answer questions, but you can try and talk to me when I come in next time so that I can give you the answers right away instead of at the end of the meeting. How's that?
That sounds good. Good.
Okay, good. So I'll talk to you next time. Remember, I love you all. Good night.
Thank you for bringing the healers for all of us.